There's a security monitor watching every single letter of the text that doesn't rust or wear out, running continually over the last several thousand years. The fingerprint of the author. And it's a non-compromisable design, interestingly enough. Sevens occur in the Bible. How many of you notice sevens in the Bible? They occur in over 600 passages. Some are overt, some are structural, some are even hidden. They're called heptatic structures. Are they a signature of the Holy Spirit? I suspect they are. Let me give you a challenge. Imagine you were given this assignment in school. I want you to develop a genealogy from fiction, just from your imagination. But I want the number of words that you're going to turn in on your paper to be divisible by 7 evenly. In other words, if I count the number of words divided by 7, there's no remainder. How many of you could do that? You could probably fudge and make that work out, couldn't you? But I want the number of letters also to be divisible by 7 exactly. Uh-oh, that gets a little more challenging. See, the first rule, you've got 6 chances of losing, 1 of winning, but you can fudge around that one. The second rule, you've got 7 squared. You've got 1 chance of winning and 49 minus 1, 48, of losing. You follow me? So every time I add a rule, it increases your chances of missing. The number of vowels, the number of consonants divisible by 7. I can go on here. Number of words that begin with a vowel, number of words that begin with a consonant, the number of words that occur more than once, occur more than one form, only one form. Number of nouns that should be divisible by 7. Only 7 words will not be nouns. By now, you're probably saying, you can't play. This is too rough. I don't blame you. So, the number of male names shall be divisible by 7. Number of generations shall be divisible. And you probably guessed what I'm doing here. This happens to be a description of the genealogy of Jesus Christ as found in the first 11 verses of the New Testament. Now, for you to try to replicate this even from fiction and using a computer is a challenge. Did Matthew do this deliberately? He's talking about a real genealogy. And it's in Greek, not English. English you can fudge around. Every verb in Greek had to meet 5 conditions, and so on. Greek was very precise. Furthermore, Greek has alphanumerics like Hebrew does. Every letter has a numerical value. Well, it turns out the remainder of chapter 1, if I take, it has 161 words, that's multiple of 7, 105, it go right through the same kind of partitioning and counting. They're always multiples of 7 exactly. Very difficult to simulate, by the way, even if you're trying to do it on purpose. The childhood of Christ, chapter 2, again, we have the same kind of 7-fold heptatic structure. Again, I won't take you the long form through all this, except the more you get into it, the more astonishing it is. Now, see, for a rule of only 2, that's 7 times 7, you got 1 chance in 49 of getting it right. For 3 rules, 1 chance in 343 of getting it right. For 4 rules, it's 1 chance in 2,400. Well, I've given you 9 rules. That's less than 1 chance in 40 million of getting it by accident, just happening to getting it right. Would you like to try this? They're working 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. I'll give you 2 weeks off for vacation. That's 2,000 man-hours a year, or 120,000 minutes per year. You have 7 to 9th chances. You got to have 40 million attempts on a random basis, at an average of 10 minutes per attempt. That you could get this knocked off in about 3,362 years. Not likely that you could do it manually. Okay, but it gets worse. And there's more to it than all of this. We're sharing with you the discoveries of Dr. Ivan Penin, who graduated from Harvard in 1882, discovered Christ, has a PhD from Harvard. That's a real miracle. He discovered the heptatic structures underlying the biblical text in 1890. He's committed the rest of the 50 years of his life, generating 43,000 pages of discoveries. He went to the Lord in 1942. Comprehensive design. The New Testament consists of 27 books, and you go through the vocabularies that commit to a value, the value of the longest, the shortest words. It's all multiples of 7 exactly. Astonishing. Here's a fascinating one. There's a vocabulary that's absolutely unique to the Gospel of Matthew. They're words that only Matthew uses. There are 42 of these. It's a multiple of 7. They have 126 letters. It's a multiple of 7. How could Matthew have organized this if he tried to do it deliberately? Only one of 2 ways. He'd get the other authors of the New Testament to agree not to use those words. I don't think that happened. Or you could argue from this phenomenon that his gospel must have been written last, because then he could look at all the others and make sure that these 42 were, that this geometry be preserved. So all they have in common is that they're unique to Matthew. So I could use this argument to prove that Matthew wrote his gospel last. Except I can use the same argument for the Gospel of Mark, because its vocabulary is a multiple of 7 exactly, the words that are unique to Mark. The words that are unique to Luke are a multiple of 7 exactly. The Gospel of John, each one of these wrote theirs last. Obviously not true. James, Peter, Jude, and Paul. All 8 of these guys have vocabularies that are unique to them, to their writings, that are multiple of 7 exactly. Do you detect the fingerprints of the Holy Spirit here?